Hey, it's Soul with another episode of Leak Season. Although this is a very different show. For one, it's offline because my internet's down. Thanks, internet peoples, for screwing me over. But two, this might be the last episode of Leak Season because, well, someone screwed up. And that's kind of expected, right? Like I was saying, well, like at the very beginning of all this, that typically a legit leak is going to start happening as we get closer and closer to the official announcement of the expansion. And as soon as we found out, we're going to find out when it's officially going to come out on April 19th, that's when we would expect to start seeing errors or screw-ups of this sort, and it turns out we have. You could say that this episode is full of potential spoilers for the 10.0 expansion, which you probably already know about, but it goes without saying, because the other day I just kind of blabbed all that stuff out like your average overexcited kid. I was like, oh my OMG, look at all this. I was just shouting to the moon with whatever that I had just learned, not even realizing that the way I revealed it to you guys, like, hey, look at this website, go into this thing and here it goes, here's how it happens, that was totally wrong. And it just kind of goes to show that when it comes to revealing this sort of information, I'll just leave it to the experts. It was the data miners, for the most part, that peeled away a couple of layers from WoW's website, and they revealed the name, Dragonflight. That's it. Here we go. And it also had references to a base, a normal, and heroic version of this product on this website. And part of me wants to think, hey, what if this happens to be the name of the next mobile Warcraft game based on World of Warcraft and whatever, and not the 10.0. Probably not, but it did cross my mind, and it definitely made for a decent joke to get a laugh and maybe infuriate people like, OMG, is that what it's really going to be? But whatever the case, we can fool ourselves and say, oh, this has got to be a late April Fool's joke. This can't really be it. We could say that Dragonflight is just a placeholder for what's really coming, and what's really coming is the World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy crossover that everyone's been talking about. No, they haven't been talking about that at all. The fact that this information was taken from WoW's own website, it makes it more of a whoopsie than a leak, but I'm convinced that this is it. The next expansion is almost certainly going to be called Dragonflight, and that ends the factual part of this video. The rest of it is at best speculative, and it's mostly going to be bullshit. So let's start with the bullshit, and we will go over to MMOchampion.com and look at the one time that someone got lucky and nailed it with the name. And look at World of Warcraft Dragonflight, and I'm not going to go through all this and analyze everything, blah, 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 because I think this is like a bajillion% fake. And I'm going to at least share why. I'm going to share my opinions why, and I have no doubt that I'm right anyway, but feel free, let's discuss this. I'm interested in hearing what you got to say. The reason why I don't believe in this leak being real, a couple things. One, it doesn't mention anything about cross-faction stuff. It doesn't mention anything about 9.2.5. It didn't mention anything about Season 4. This was brought out early February. This is before any of that news came out. So the fact that it didn't mention any of those things, which are very critical, someone who would know this much information would have more than likely have known about all those things that I just talked about, which I already forgot about, but you know what I mean. Not mentioning that kills a lot of the credibility. Even looking at the implementation of features like these, and let me point out the specific ones. The 4 new micro classes, so 4 new basically classes, along with animation, the animations that need to go into it, the special effects for like spells and abilities and stuff like that, the art, the story, setting up quest lines, things like that. All those things would need to be put into a single expansion release. Even though they're micro classes, it doesn't make them any more micro. They just have less specs, but they're still full-on classes. Like, for the sake of argument, we would want to presume that the WoW team wants to put out, when they want to put out a new class, they're not just going to half-ass it. They're going to give it its own sort of unique identity and its unique, things that make it look and feel special because they want people to play, you know, these classes, 4 classes at once. They also want player housing though, and I'm kind of like, you know, I'd love to have player housing. Duh. I've been like one of its biggest champions, but to put in so much and player housing on top of that, which I feel would be like an extremely big job, I don't see that happening. Those 2 things alone are what kills the credibility. I mean, there's things like the release date they got wrong, blah, blah, blah. So many things that it gets wrong, but just even if this was real, this feels like some setup for failure. Setting up 4 classes, doing player housing, all that stuff at once, along with pretty much everything else. I mean, leveling got removed. That doesn't mean jack shit. That doesn't really remove much of any work from anything. If anything, it adds more work, because then the team is going to have to think of a way to pace the story or pace progression through things that aren't levels. And levels are an easy way to translate, hey, you can't go here yet, wait until you do a thing. Normally it's wait until you get, you know, to level 62 or something like that. Now it's going to be wait until you have to finish this quest line, or wait until you have to wrap up with something, or complete these objectives, or find these items. And, you know, then you'd have to think of catch-ups for that, when if it was just levels, then let's just let the leveling be faster or something like that, right? Like, leveling is so simple and easy to understand that removing it would just be for the sake of removing it. It wouldn't add anything. You would just be subtracting things, and it would probably confuse players more than anything. I am going to talk about, like later, I am going to talk about what Dragonflight could entail based on the almost 0 information that we have on hand. But I do want to share one more thing, and that is this image right here. Now, this image is something that was already revealed by the time that I was talking about it in that earlier video, but I didn't want to share it because I'm a coward, and I didn't want to be the first one to put it out in the video because I'm like, I don't want to get in trouble. But then other people started sharing it, and I think it's on the thumbnail for one of Taliesin's new videos, so I'm like, okay, sweet, we can talk about this thing. And the first thing that I noticed, or the first thought that came to mind, when seeing this image, and this is of course after I learned about the name of the expansion, the first thing I thought was, dude, this artwork looks good. It's really good. I'm very, yeah, with this sort of thing. Alexstrasza looks awesome. She's got a cool looking staff slash halberd, maybe. I'm not quite sure what it is. I don't recall what her default weapon is. Presumably, I'm pretty sure that's her in the background, you know, with fire and all this other stuff, but I'm pretty sure that's like, you know, they wanted to show off, hey, this is Alexstrasza. You know, this is the Dragon Queen. Back there, yeah, this is definitely the Dragon Queen. Don't fuck with her. You know, and I think that's a really, this hits off a really cool vibe. And maybe we can talk about what sort of vibe this is supposed to give up. But first, this is a leak. This is a leak. Someone took a picture of this, and we don't know where this is. We can't say for sure that this is at Blizzard headquarters. This could be some sort of like third-party site that is developing like art stuff, art assets, promotional stuff. So this could be something that came from a third party. But we can't say for sure like much of anything else. They have scissors. They're orange. Hey, there's cups with pens in it, and there's a screen. Yeah, so we have no idea if this is like at some sort of office, home office, Blizzard headquarters, not sure. And I don't, and while this looks very credible, given the time that it came out, which was around the time that the Dragonflight name was released, I'm still not ready to say that this is certain, this is absolutely 100%, you know, real, because this is just some camera photo that someone took. And maybe it's because I'm very strict about what I consider, oh, this is like legit, because it's not from the website. You know, we saw other stuff from Shadowlands where, hey, we looked at the store website, we saw this and this and this. Okay, well, shucks, cat's out the bag. But something like this, I'm ready to I'm ready to tell myself, oh, that wasn't real. Okay, well, that's a bummer, because damn, Alexstrasza looks hot, Dragon looks dope. This pulls off a really good vibe. But what is Dragonflight? What does that mean? And there's a lot of folks that have had numerous different opinions and takes, and like I said, we're at the part of the video where we're just speculating. It's all bullshit. We have no idea what we're talking about. It's not going to be until more leaks come out, or until the 19th when we get the grand reveal of whatever the heck Dragonflight is supposed to be. Is it going to be a mobile game? Probably not. All right, let me reassure you folks. But what is it? Let's talk about that. Dragonflight almost seems like a play on words, because there is more than one Dragonflight. There's like 5, 6 more or something. There could be more that come up with this expansion. Hey, we're the prismatic Dragonflight. I think that was already there. No, it was chromatic. Yeah, we're the prismatic Dragonflight. Totally different. We're all about making babies. I don't know. But when I say it's a play on words, it could be 2 words. Dragonflight. Are the dragons running away from something? Or towards something? Is there, for whatever reason, going to only be one Dragonflight? Is this expansion going to feature just one Dragonflight while the others are antagonists? Or is Dragonflight, this, one specific Dragonflight, going to be the antagonist of the story for the most part? I was going to say, yeah, probably the blacks, but that sounds like terrible optics, right? Dragonflight strongly asserts, that we're going to explore a lot of dragon lore. We're going to learn more about them now than we have at any point in WoW history. And it's kind of fair to say that we have learned bits and pieces of them throughout World of Warcraft. We've encountered dragons pretty much in every expansion, I think. But even then, I guess dragons are still sort of a mystery. We don't know like their early history. I mean, we might have read about them from the perspective of the Titans, but we're going to learn more about them, probably their early history up to this point, and maybe discover or maybe learn their uncertain future, what's ahead for them. And of course, people have been talking about systems, features, things that are made to, I guess, infuriate each other, because with dragons and dragonflights come very clear separations, very clear identities between the different flights and their leaders, the powers that they represent, and how that can translate into what we as players, as champions of Azeroth, are going to experience. Are dragonflights going to be treated like covenants? Probably. Personally, I don't see why not. I mean, it is possible. It is possible, folks, that there are things about covenants that players universally liked. And if Blizzard has the insight or the foresight or whatever to kind of take what worked with covenants and put that into dragonflights, into some sort of a very soft system of, hey, join your team, but it's not a big deal, guys. But from that, you'll be able to experience the different stories. And maybe we'll be able to experience the entirety of like one story. And once we do, and we max out Dragon Renown, then we'll be able to go back and freely switch to a different Dragonflight and, re-experience their story. And we can encounter like new things, have new mini games, new cosmetics, pets, mounts, etc. that we can unlock as we explore each of these different dragonflights. And I think that's a good lesson to learn from the different things that we have experienced from the last couple of expansions. Remember, Legion was split into kind of 12 pieces with the different class orders and the class order hall campaigns. Those sorts of experience, they were unique, they felt cool. But in order to really experience all of them, you needed to play through all 12. You needed 12 characters to do that. And for some, that felt a little more than overwhelming. I'm mostly talking about me. Battle for Azeroth, it split the experience into 2 uneven halves between the Horde and Alliance. They all needed to have like a full-on leveling campaign. They both had their own freaking continents. They had different war campaigns afterwards, and even extending into other patches, there needed to be that sort of identity, that sort of differentiation between the two factions, and that was great too. But again, you needed to have 2 characters, not just, and more importantly, 1 character on each faction, which again, for some people that didn't feel very great. And once again, I'm talking about me. Shadowlands eventually reached a really cool agreement. So I'm not talking about 9.0. 9.0 felt like a mess, but 9.15 feels like it solved a lot of those potential problems of, hey, I want to be able to experience all these different things, but I don't want to have to make another freaking character to do it. Covenants minus the Covenant ability, very important to point that out. Covenants minus the Covenant ability feels like what I would want to see in World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Sure, give me a whole bunch of different Dragonflights to sign up with and join and hang out with and do stuff with. As long as there doesn't feel like there's friction between me making that choice over another. Like, hey, I want to do the Reds because they're like the Horde. Heck yeah, that's my reasoning, whatever. So if I wanted to do that, I want to be able to switch to a different one almost freely. And as long as there aren't, you know, very unique power restrictions or you know, things that would make me feel bad about my choice, I won't mind so much if I do need to progress through Dragon Renown to max level before I can freely switch. So again, like 9.15 seems to have hit it really nailed it when it came down to, I want that freedom to switch. And Blizzard's like, okay, we'll give you that, but there are things that we want you to experience first. It's kind of along the same veins of Pathfinder. Once you've experienced like a bunch of these different things and done all this, cool, you can fly. Now you can do all the things that you want to do like a little bit faster. So getting something like this, getting something like 9.15 kind of put into the Dragonflight experience, I think that'd be pretty awesome. Not everyone likes Reputation, not everyone likes Renown, and no doubt that if they are going to introduce something even remotely like this, players are going to be asking some legitimate questions like, hey, I've been helping out the dragons like all throughout my World of Warcraft career. I got like super exalted with the bronzes, you know, back in vanilla. I got exalted with these people and these people. What gives? Those are going to be things that, well, I mean, why even bring that up? No doubt that people are going to be pissed about that. Oh, I got to rep up with these with a new faction or something like that again. I have no doubt that if something like this is in, people are going to ask those questions. But I think it's better to just kind of suspend disbelief there. But my hopes are that, let's say we do. You know, let's say we have maxed out Wormrest Accord and all these other previous Dragon factions. I would love it if there were at least like roleplay acknowledgements of that. You know, if I'm going up to Alexstrasza, she should be like, hey, handsome, I remember you. You know, I would hope for something along the lines of that. And not to be treated as if I was some sort of stranger. There are things about Warcraft that no matter what we have done, or as much as we wanted to resist it, there are things that our champions have done. They are the commander of the garrison. They are the class leader of their order hall, even if we either didn't care about it or if we paid for a skip and didn't experience it ourselves. The game is going to acknowledge those things have been done anyway. But I'm hoping that the game takes it a little bit further too and acknowledges some of those reputations that some of us put a lot of time into into getting, because we wanted like those rewards at the time. But getting a little bit more acknowledgement would be that much sweeter. You know, I've been staring at the Alexstrasza pic for like a good minute or two. I had a long pause just now. I edited it out because I'm brilliant. Is she kind of covered up? Just help me out here. Help me out with, let's see if my eyesight's working okay. So here we can see like it's really dark. Here we can see like it's not as dark. I'm wondering if it's just like a lighting thing, or is this like an open, like is this kind of open, or is it meant to be like kind of sheer, kind of see-through? Because I can't tell obviously, but is that her belly button? Over there, I just can't tell if there's a lot of like I've seen some of the discourse going around like, OMG, Alexstrasza is covered up, this is bad, or even like this is good. I don't really have an opinion on that in particular. But like I said earlier in this video, she just looks hella good. But she also looks unhappy. Well, maybe she's never been very jovial, has she? She's never been like, hey, let's party and dance and stuff. You know, she's never been like that. But I wonder, I kind of doubt, well, okay, here's a question, I guess. If this is real, is this going to be what is on the box art? Is it going to be Alexstrasza primarily on the art? Because that'll be interesting. You know, some folks have gone to discussion over this, and I haven't looked into this, so maybe I'm just talking at my ass. But I you know, we've seen different box arts for WoW expansions where, like, hey, Miss Pandaria, there's Chen Stormstout. He wasn't exactly the bad guy. Legion, Illidan was on the box. He wasn't exactly the bad guy. Dragonflight, assuming that Alexstrasza is going to be on the box art, she's probably not going to be the bad guy. Although in Warlords of Draenor, you had, I think it was Gromash who was on the box art, and he was the bad guy. Actually, no, he wasn't, because that thing got all changed up and it got all jacked up. Never mind. Maybe maybe Alexstrasza is not going to be like the bad guy, but we can't even say that she's going to be like necessarily the protagonist either, or that she's going to be like a very not exactly a central character, like she's going to be around all the time. But I guess I'm just having a hard time nailing what is likely going to be Alexstrasza's involvement with something like this, because with so little that we know, all we can say is that she's the boss. Is she going to survive the end, you know, towards the end of this expansion? I don't know. And there's so much that we don't know. It's way too hard to speculate much of anything, although I am kind of stuck on the whole Dragonflights / covenants, you know, / join, you know, choose your path sort of thing, because that sounds cool. Sorry, I'm going back to this again, because it does sound legit cool. Join the Blue Flights, learn their history, help them out, do stuff, get cool shit, get some dope-ass cosmetics, that sort of thing. Join the Black Dragonflight, learn their history. We know a lot of it already, but, you know, learn a little bit more. Not personally, you know, as a person who isn't 100% on the lore at all, I'm like, you know, 48% or something like that. I would love to get more details, more story on some of these dragons that we've come to know over the years, introduce us to a couple more. Whatever the case though, based on what little we've learned, I'm excited. I'm excited to learn more. It's going to be a really, really long 2 weeks from now. 2 weeks from now, we're going to learn what's going to happen. You know, we're going to learn what 10.0 really is going to be and all that it entails. And I hope that you folks will share that excitement with me, because I'm going to be hopefully live when this thing comes out, and we'll be talking about it. Maybe we'll see if we can like land some interviews and talk with folks and ask a bajillion questions about what's going to be happening and what thing is going to be time gated and when are we going to fly. So I'd love to hear your comments, your theories, your anything that you got to say about this reveal. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do for this episode of Leak Season, because the stuff that has come out since has been less than trash. They are zeros, and they're not even worth mentioning at this point. But I want to thank you guys for coming and sharing with some of this excitement with me. Again, feel free to like the video, subscribe for more content, and I'll see you folks for the next thing. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.